Good morning. Okay, I'm so excited because I really want to let people in on our conversations, and I feel like my husband he helps me process almost like the Bible. And I feel like he literally, babe, you're just really great at wisdom and understanding, and I really want to learn more. So, I have a lot of experience in building businesses and building teams and sales, but I want to just I feel like I need to read the Bible a little bit more because everything really comes from like wisdom. I'm reading in Proverbs and I want to, what would you say about wisdom and understanding and just give talk more about that?
I think you can get wisdom from anybody who's been through something because they went through an experience, they learned a lesson, so they get the wisdom from their experiences and their testimony. But also, they also got advice from other people, whether it be mentors, whether it be pastors, whether it be reading about for themselves. So for me, I think you can get wisdom from just about anything. But for me, I think one of my favorite verses in Proverbs when it says, "Get wisdom, do it cost you everything, get understanding." And I think that's for me the understanding part. Understanding, like sometimes you just can't rely on your pastor. You can't just rely on your mentor.
Yes.
You can't just rely on your husband. Like you can hear me talk all day long. You can hear your pastor preach all day long. You can hear your mentor give you advice all day long. But at some point, you have to take the advice that they give you, and you have to go and do the work yourself. You have to go and get that understanding and put it and learn it in a way that it relates to you and your experiences and the things that you're going through. So for me, I always listen with a filter, understanding like when I have conversations with people, that's why I can be open-minded and listen to just about anybody, whether I like you or not, because I think you have something of value to share. And it's my job to dig out that value. It's my job to dig out the gold nuggets within everything. So you listen with a filter, understand everything you may say may not be for me, but it's something in this that you're saying in this conversation that I need to get. So my job is to listen with a filter. If I don't agree with it, I don't have to speak up and tell you I don't agree with it. Just let it go in one ear out the other. And just continue to listen and give you that voice to speak into my life, understanding like there's something you have to say that's going to add value to me. And I think that's how you get understanding when you listen with a filter. Understanding like everything that I say may not be right, and that's okay. Like I say all the time, I'm not always right and she's not always wrong. She's not always right and I'm not always wrong. We're having conversations. We're learning from each other. And I think that's what we have to do many times. And so for me, like when I listen to pastors preach, like I don't just listen to get a word. I listen to get that wisdom. And then I take the wisdom that they give me and I go deeper in my own time. I open the Bible for myself. I do the research myself. It's like I can get a deeper understanding. Like what does this mean for me in my life in this season? Because I can get that word and that word may not move me. That's what I always talk about when I give messages. Like the first thing I have to understand, like, does this message move me? Does this message relate to me? Is this going to make me want to change and want to transform and want to make me do something different? So if it isn't going to do it for me, that means it's probably not going to do it for you because it's not authentic and it's not relatable and it's not something that like I don't have an understanding for. So for me, when I hear somebody talk, like I can take in the wisdom, but at the same time, for me to get that understanding, I have to do what my wife do. I have to pick up the Bible. I have to do the work myself so I can dig a little deeper to make it understand and so that God can speak to me through the words. Like you can get it. Like I've been taught how to do a quiet time and you get a verse. You just get one verse. And with that verse, you can get one word that's speaking to you. That whole verse may not be for you, but it may be one word in there that may be exactly what you need. But in order to get that one word and go deeper into that one word, you have to do the work outside of just hearing from somebody else. You have to go and gain that deeper understanding of what it is that God is trying to speak to you in that season of your life.
Yeah, that's so good. I think I was just reading. I just started Proverbs today because I want to get wisdom. I'm not looking just for wisdom. I want wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and revelation. Yeah. And that's what I pray for every single day because this is literally, I'm just starting Proverbs over again as if I'm like, sometimes I feel like I like to start.
Yeah, everything comes from Proverbs.
Yes.
If you hear somebody talking, speaking, doing anything, it all comes from the Bible in some way, shape, or form. People just use it and kind of put it in a way that it touched them and they kind of give it to you that way. They kind of package it differently. But me, I think everything's come from the Bible. We just kind of packaged it in a way that it made sense to us in that season and it helped us. So why not go back out and give it to somebody else so it may help them? And they may take it and it may be wrapped in a different package, but they're going to receive it and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to go out and tell other people because it helped them and it gave them deeper understanding. So I love Proverbs because it's just full of wisdom that if you apply that wisdom, then you're going to see that change. Like a lot of people hear things and they say, or they read a book and they say it don't work. It's not that the book or the wisdom didn't work. It's you didn't work it. Like you thought you was just going to read it, get this wisdom, and then things are going to change. But like, no, you have to read it and you have to apply it and you have to get that understanding and you have to like, I was going to do a message this morning. I was trying to figure out how to word it. I'm still trying to figure out how to word it. It's like, whenever you want to go somewhere or do something in life, then you have to do something or go through something to get to it. So same thing with life lessons. Like whenever you want to change, you have to go through something in order for that change to happen. Like you can't expect to change and everything and just go on this simple journey where everything is going to remain the same. Like there are things about you that's going to have to change. There are things about your surrounding that's going to have to change. There's things about the people around you that's going to have to change. So when you change, you have to understand, like, it's not that something is wrong. It's just like when you start changing and when you start growing, that means things on you are dying. That means relationships that you was once a part of is dying. And the reason that it has to change because it has to fall off you. It can no longer go with you because it's just dead weight. And you don't want to carry that dead weight because when you search for peace and you search for a better life for yourself, you're going to feel heavy about the things that you're trying to carry around that no longer you no longer have that you no longer want to carry. So many times when you want to change, what that means is like you're going to be growing, and that means dead things have to come off you. You have to remove those things, whether it be relationship, mindset, habits, or whatever the case may be.
That's so good. I also love this verse. It says, "Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man." So what, like Proverbs is literally telling you, God is telling you how to win favor. Why would you want favor?
I mean, because it's just, why not have favor? I mean, you're a likable person, I believe, or you're just a person of just in right standing with God and right standing with people. People don't just give you favor because they like you. It's because you've like added value to them. You're trustworthy. You're reliable or accountable or whatever the case may be. Same thing with God. Like if you can be faithful to God, then He will be faithful to you. Like you can do things all day long, but if you aren't faithful to the Word and obedient to what He's called you to do, then of course you're gonna feel like you're just beating your head against the wall, or you're gonna feel like you're traveling on this path that everything's just starting to come against you is because you're not in alignment. What we found ourselves, like when we're in alignment with God, everything goes smoothly. It's when we're out of alignment that the confusion comes, that we feel like we're trying to rush into something that we're not ready for, or we're trying to do things that we're just not prepared to do. And that's just because we're not in alignment. We're not faithful to what He's calling us to do in that season. I think a lot of times He gives us a vision and we stay faithful to that vision, and we forget He's not calling you to be faithful just to that vision. He's also reminding you, like, I will order your steps. I need you to be faithful with this step. Like, I've shown you the vision, but you don't get to determine your path to that vision. I'm going to give you the vision. I'm going to show you the way, and I'm going to lead you the way, and I need you to do it in a way that, like, I've already carved out a path for you to go. So you think, because you see the vision here, that you can decide how you're going to get to this. That it don't work like that. I talk about the bowling pin. When you go to a bowling alley with your kids, the first thing they do for kids, kids bowl, and it goes into the gutter right away. That's how God, sometimes we think we're going to do something, and that's how God, we're kids in faith. Like, we're His children. So He's like the people at the boat now. He's going to put up these things. So, like, you're not just going to keep going into the gutter. Like, you're going to go here, and it's going to bump against this rail, and it's going to bump against this rail, and it's going to bump against this rail, and it's going to bump against this rail. And for me, that's a reminder of this, you trying to do your own thing. This, you trying to do something different. This, you trying to carve your own path. But at the same time, God is going to give you these little nudges. Get back in line. Get back in alignment, and you're going to hit your destination at the end. And for me, the whole picture is understanding, like, you started here and you saw the pins here, but you didn't just go straight to these pins. Like, you have to go through these little bumps and these little nicks, and He had to teach you. He had to get you back in alignment the entire way, but He kept you on that path because you were faithful to moving forward. You weren't stuck trying to go back the other way. You weren't stuck trying to do things that you would get in somebody else's lane. You were stuck in your path, going against, bumping these rails, going against life. which sometimes you go through life and it's going to be hard and it's going to be challenges and roadblocks going to come. But as long as you stay faithful and obedient and you learn to stay close to him, he's going to keep you on that path and he's going to always put you back in alignment. But you have to be willing to get back in alignment. So that's just my description of what that looked like.
I love what you said. That was such a really good picture because I think back to our life and going against like the gutter. I think about how we hear from her, I feel like, is he blocks things. Mm-hmm. And that is something, do you feel like everybody actually hears from the Lord differently?
Hear, feel, nudge, whatever, I think we all do. If you believe in God and you give me your life to Jesus, I believe you hear. Sometimes you don't want to hear what he's saying or you don't want to do what he's saying, but I think we all get these nudges or whatever the case may be. You know when God is speaking to you. To me, it's like a magnet and it's pulling. And I told my wife in church one time when he always called me to speak. I know my gift, I know my call, I know what I was supposed to do. He always called me to speak, and I was in church and I was like, dang, I think he just pulling me out of the seat. It was like, it literally got to the point, like the pool was so like overwhelming. I said, I can't sit here. And I literally just got up and went to the front. I was like, I can't sit here. And I knew that was him trying to speak through me. And sometimes we just have to be obedient to that. And whatever it may be for you, you know what it is. Like a lot of times people say, like, I don't know how he speaks. Like, you know, you just try to turn your head to it because you don't want to do what he's calling you to do because it's outside of your comfort zone. And it's going to be doing things that you may not feel qualified to do, but he's going to qualify you as you just remain obedient and faithful to that call or that pull that he's trying to show you.
Yeah, that's so good. Wow. I was just thinking about going back to the blocking. I feel a lot of times God speaks through us is through a closed door.
Yeah.
Like one time we tried to move to Texas and it was like everything was just block. But every time that we move with God, he opens doors. And I remember one time having a conversation with a lady in our church. This was back when we lived in Sioux Falls, and she said, "When you move with the Lord, you'll have peace. Yep. But when you don't, you'll have confusion." And so that's kind of been, I feel like, a guiding point in our life. Are we in alignment? And when we are in alignment, that's when we have peace. Yep. And what else do we have when it's like the fruits of the Spirit, which I never actually understood. Yeah. So I personally feel like a baby in Christ, isn't it? Like I feel like a baby, but that's also one of my gifts is childlike faith. And that's how I move is I can move and I have vision. And so that's why I feel like the body of Christ is that's why we all work really well together. Yep. Because that's why we even work really well together because I am very like this. And then my husband, you almost will test me and say, okay, you are more grounding. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think one misconception I think a lot of people get stuck with is they think God won't let you do this or God won't let you do that. And like that kind of makes people feel bad and they get stuck and don't want to do anything because they don't want to go against God. But I think that's the opposite. I think God loves you enough to where like he, it's not that he won't let you do it. He won't permit you to do it. He will let you step out. Like Peter stepping out of the boat. Yeah. Like, Jesus, tell me to come. What did Jesus, he didn't do a motivational speech? Jesus said, come. Like, come. And he stepped out of the boat and he was focused on Jesus and started looking around and looking at his circumstances. And that's when he started sinking. And he didn't pray this long, magnificent, oh, Father in heaven, you are such great and wonderful. And I just wish that you would just show up and you would just make me, like, save me. He started sinking and he said, his prayer was 2 words, save me. And Jesus saved him. So for me, I think sometimes what our story is, what I love about us and like part of the faith walk is like understanding like sometimes like he may block you or he may close the door, but he's not going to stop you from moving. Like when we decided to do things, we still decided to do things. He just didn't permit us to follow through with these things. Yes. So he allowed us to go through it. He allowed us to gain that understanding, that wisdom, that knowledge to understand like, okay, we tried our way in this. And he blocked it, so let's get back in alignment over here. Yeah. Same thing with that bowling analogy. Is like sometimes you're gonna want to make decisions and do things. Like for us, that was us going and bump against that bumper. Okay, we're gonna try to do this, and God's like, no, I got a bumper right here. Like, come on back over here, and he got us back in alignment. But the entire time we was moving forward. That was part of our faith journey. actually stepping out and doing something and understand, like, when you're on this faith journey with God, He's going to permit you or not permit you to do things. He allowed us to move forward.
Yes.
He just stepped, like, I love the faith. I love that what you're trying to do, but not this direction over here. So, like, when you decide to do something, it's not that you're doing something wrong or you're doing something against God. Like, no, you're stepping out in faith. And part of stepping out in faith, you don't know the unknown. But that's what it is walking with God. He's going to make sure you get back in alignment. So for us, it's like we stepped out and did things that, God didn't permit us to do, but He allowed us to do it because He loved us that much. And because He loved us so much, He allowed us to, like, choose to love Him back. Choose to follow and just, okay, God, you don't want us to do this, so we're going to do this. Choose to get back into His will, His alignment for our life. So many times I think we get stuck and not want to do things because we don't want to upset God, or we don't feel like God is not calling us to do something. He's like, no, step out in faith. I'll order your step. Yes. That means I'll get you back in alignment. You may step here, but I already see something right here, and that's not for you. So I'm going to put you back over here. So many times you have to step out in faith and just try and do things and understand if God wants you to do it, He's going to keep you going that direction. If He don't, He's going to close this door, block that, like that bumper, put you back in alignment so you can get back into the door and the path that He's already created for you. But part of that path is always moving forward, not staying stuck, not looking back, not looking to the side, not trying to get in somebody else's lane, but staying in your lane, moving forward, taking those steps of faith. Understand, like, He's going to order your steps. He's always going to put you back on the right path as long as you stay obedient and faithful to Him and His word and His call and His nudges by His Holy Spirit, and always just stay in alignment and just trusting the path that He has for you and understanding, like, what He has for you is greater and more abundant than what you have planned for yourself. So,
yeah, I was just thinking that what just came up for me is, I think the hardest thing even for me is, because I do love social media, but the hardest thing is the comparison and trying, and what you said about staying in your lane, because I think God does deposit dreams and desires. Actually, this is really good. I think God does deposit dreams and desires into your heart. But then I also read this. It says, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And we were talking about that. So what would you say from that? Because I do believe that God deposits these dreams and desires. So how do you know what is deposited from the Lord, and how do you know?
That's why He say guard your heart. Everything that you do flows from it. For me, it's like understanding, like, okay, God give us these dreams, these visions, but also going back to the Bible. Jesus fasting 40 days in the wilderness.
That's so good.
What did Satan do? He tempted him. He showed him everything that God could have showed him. Jesus already knew what was in the world. He already knew these things was there. He already been to them. Like, he know all of these things. But Satan also had a duplicate. He had another version of these things, and he showed it to Jesus. So for me, it's understanding, like, God gives you dreams and visions, and He knows the plans that He has for you. But Satan also is going to give you dreams and vision, and he knows the plans that He have for you. And by watching TV or seeing your favorite models or actors or musicians or whatever the case may be, athletes, like, you see what they have, and these are the visions and the goals and the dreams that you want for yourself as well. So for me, when they say guard your heart, everything's flow from it. Like, your heart, like I said, your heart is the most deceitful thing, because it can't separate what's God, what's me, what's the devil, because the devil can give you whatever you want. He don't give you what you don't want. He gives you everything that you want. It may not be good for you, but he's going to give it to you because he wants to entice you. He wants you to go down this path that's going to lead to destruction and lead to depression and lead to all of these things, because it's short-lived. It's not going to give you that peace. It's not going to give you everything that you're looking for. It's a void that you're trying to fill, and he's going to try to fill that void, because if he can do that, he can keep you trapped in those cycles and those repetitive things of looking for things to fill voids instead of looking for God to fill those voids. So for me, it's understanding, like, good. When it says everything flows from your heart, like, understanding, like, everything that you see is going to be deposited here and you're going to want it. But God is saying, that's not for you. I showed you that to let you, so that you can have a humble heart and be able to celebrate somebody else. Wow. So when I see somebody being successful or getting a new house and doing these, I'm not God. I want that. Can you do this? Like, no, thank you for showing me what's possible. Yeah. Thank you for putting these amazing people in my life so that I can see that not only will I prosper, but the people that you put around me, they will prosper as well. So many times when I see things, like, celebrate people, yes. That keeps you in a position of humility. That keeps you reminded, like, God, thank you for just surrounding me with such amazing people that's doing amazing things, that inspire me to not settle for what I have, but understanding, like, you have plans and visions and all these things that's great for me as well. So for me, like, when you talk about the heart, I understand, like, everything goes to the heart. whether you like good, bad, indifferent, from God, from me, from the enemy, whatever the case, it all goes here. So for me, when you say watch what flows from it, like understand like there's a lot of things that's not of God that's gonna come to you. We talked about this before, and I was like, don't follow your heart. You have to lead your heart. Because like if you try to follow your heart, listen, we haven't been married. I'm 30. I'm about to be 34. And we only been
tomorrow
together.
is his birthday.
Listen, we've been together 9 years, so 25, and before that, I followed my heart. And you know what my heart got me? Single up until I met my wife. So for me, it's like my heart put me in relationships that I wasn't prepared to be in.
Yes.
My heart put me in positions where I hurt people, and I didn't do it on purpose, or maybe I did, whatever the case may be. But my heart put me in those positions. But the time that I decided to be faithful to God, to seek God, and to really not talk about living a faith life, but actually living and walking out a faith life, that's when I decided not to follow my heart, but to lead my heart. And when I decided to do that, that's when I did something when I was thinking with this head and not the other. And just being real.
But that's really, I feel like we need more real life talk.
And when I decided to like not listen to my heart and follow my heart, but actually lead my heart, that put me in, like literally put me in something that was, like I said, it probably wasn't the devil, but it put me in a situation where so many times before I made the wrong decision. And because I was leading my heart and I was acting like, okay, God, I'm going to be faithful to what you have for me. I'm going to trust this path that you've made for me. I'm going to make a decision not to follow my heart and act on desires that, you know, you're probably going to regret tomorrow, or you're going to end up hurting somebody. And because I did that, that person ended up being the person to plant this seed with my wife to let her know, like he's really an amazing guy. And that person, when I decided to lead my heart, was the key that unlocked the door to us getting married and living this life that we have today. So that, for me, when I say like don't follow your heart, lead your heart, I always go back to that situation. Because if I would have followed my heart then, we wouldn't be together, because she wouldn't have said like he's an amazing guy and we went out and he didn't try anything. It would have been a completely different story, and my wife probably wouldn't have decided to pursue me. So for me, like when I say lead your heart, that's coming from that situation. Honestly, like, okay, I tried it my way and it didn't work, and it got me in a situation where I was either hurt or I hurt other people. But when I decided to lead my heart, I made decisions like using wisdom, understanding, like not thinking about short-term desires, but like think long-term. Think, what do God have for you? And because I did that, that seed that I planted that night became the seed that literally blossomed into our marriage. So
yeah, and I think one thing that, wow, I love that, babe. You really took. No, I know, but you took me. Oh wow, that was so good.
I know, just like sometimes we think we have to, like it has to be like if we don't hear from the preacher or we don't, like it's not real. Like no, like God is going to use the Bible. He's going to use people to speak into your life, but your testimony, everything that you go to, that's going to be your living word. So for me, like I can read the Bible all day long, but if I like, so that people don't want to know like what's in the Bible. How did the Bible impact you? Like what did you read and how did you apply and how did it work for you? So like you can preach at people all day long, you can share the word of God all day long, but if you don't have the word of God in your testimony and how it combine, intertwine, and change your life, then it's not going to change anybody else's life. So for me, it's like understand you have to have the word, but you also have to have your testimony, your story, and it has to be intertwined in the way that it really did transform your life and lead you on a new path and really did change your life. So that way, when you talk to people, it's going to be more authentic and more real, and it's going to relate to people in a way that they're going to understand, like, you've been with God. Like, you are a man of God. So when people say that to me, it's not like they're saying, like, you just a good guy who can speak. It's like, no, like, you talk about the Bible, you read the Bible, but you also apply what you're reading in the Bible in a way that works for you, not works for the preacher over here or the person over here or the speaker over here. Like, it works for you and you apply it, and you literally transform your life in a way that you can actually take what you're learning, how the Bible speaks into you, and you can go out and share with other people, and it becomes more real to you. And I think that just, for me, it allows you to relate to people on a whole nother level. Yeah,
that's so good. Wisdom comes from the Lord.
It does.
Wisdom comes from the Lord. And that's why I always ask for it. It says, get wisdom. Get wisdom, though it costs all you have. Gain understanding. So I even wrote I just started with this Bible. I'm like, I need to really start. I don't want to be a baby anymore, because there's a difference between a baby is they eat milk. But when you get older, you need to start actually having more food. And so I'm like, I need to really dive into the Bible, because I see what it's done to my husband. So I'm like, I want that. I want the peace. I want the like,
Yeah, listen, you have to go through stuff. That's why people always say, you see where I'm at, but it's like, do you know where I've been? Like, so when I speak, it's not coming from a great place. It's coming from, like, experience. It's coming through from a life of making bad decisions and mistakes. But the great thing about that is what I always say, like, mistakes are meant to be learned from, not lived in. So when I share things, it's coming from mistakes, but it's looking back with the eyes of, like, what could I have done differently? And understanding, like, you can't change it, but you can learn from it and apply it in a way that you can go out and help somebody else not make those same mistakes. So, yes, you want to get where I am, but the things that I had to go through to get here, you don't want that. You want to take the things that I'm sharing with you, look back over your past life and things that you've been to and try to relate it and combine it in a way that, like, this makes sense to me. I get this. And then you can go out and share it in a more authentic way. And I think that's why I love having conversations with my wife, because she gives me things from a different perspective. And a lot of things I have, I love to read, I love to learn, but sometimes you can have these things and it's like half-baked ideas. So when I have conversations with my wife, like, I'm trying to finish ideas and thoughts that I've picked up in the past, and she may say one thing and it's like, oh, that goes here. I remember when I learned this or read this in the book, I heard this in the sermon, like, that fits perfectly. And like, it didn't make sense at the time, but because we're having a conversation and not a debate, I'm not trying to say I'm right and you're wrong, because I'm listening to you and every word that you're saying, I'm able to hear that one piece of thing that takes, and now I got understanding of why I heard it then, and then now you're giving it to me in a different season. Understand, like, you may get a word in this season and it may not make sense, but if you just continue to keep it up here, keep it in the forefront, put it in your heart, and at the right time, a conversation is going to come up where you're going to get that last piece of that recipe, and it's going to make sense in a way that you never thought it would make sense at the perfect time of your season. So that's why I always love to have conversations with my wife and other people, because it's like so much wisdom, so much knowledge that I have in here, but it's like, it's not for me to just give to everybody all at once. Sometimes you have to have conversations to, like, finish these recipes off so that it can't make sense to you. Because, like, I can say anything, but if it don't make sense to me, I'm not going to say it. Because like I said earlier, if it don't change me or make me want to move or do something, then I know for sure it's not going to make anybody else want to move or do something.
Yeah, that's so good. Wow. Okay, I think that's good for today. I love just pulling my husband when I feel led. I'm like, oh, that's so good. And, we can all just learn together. And I think that's what, going forward, I feel like this is what that YouTube channel is going to be, is just inspired talks. Yeah. Because I love to act on the Holy Spirit. When I move, I act. Like, that's my thing. But also knowing that, there's been these, I'm just like this. I'm so excited. I have a lot of energy. I also, can speak, but that's why God's like, okay, you're excited. Does this work? And then it's like hitting the, like the bumper. Yeah. So, but I feel like we all have gifts and talents, and that's when we work together, is when, and also knowing when God wants you to move in the right direction, you staying aligned, just like you said. And so you're really good at directing my energy, and that's why our marriage is really good.
I know. And it just like, for me, I love, like, good analogies. And for me, it's like, when you talk about alignment, think about a car that's out of alignment.
Yes.
You drive that car and it's out of alignment, it's gonna be pulling you either here when you're driving, or it's gonna be pulling you here. But it's not gonna go straight. And for me, like, what I try to tell people, we're like that sometimes. We feel like we're not in alignment when things just won't go right, when things just won't stay in line. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the car. The only thing is, you need to go in and put the tires in a proper place. You need to put your priorities in a proper place. And once you do that, what you realize, there was nothing wrong with the tires or the car or anything else. All it was out of alignment. You didn't have things in its proper place. So for me, like, my whole life, up until I decided to, like, literally get myself together and get my priorities together, like, I was always either going here and feel like nothing will ever go right for me. But once I got my tires in their proper place and got things in the right alignment, like, I'm not saying, like, the road was easy, but I was on a path that led me to where I am today. And what I noticed was, it wasn't much of like, I didn't have to pull things back. I didn't have to constantly look and see who's watching me do this, who's watching me do that, because I was in alignment and I was able to focus on where I needed to go. I was able to focus on the big windshield and everything that's in front of me. So sometimes I think what happens in our lives is, like, we have things out of order. We have things not in its proper place. And that's small adjustments that you have to make. get things in alignment, put things back in priority, prioritize what's important to you, get things back in order. And I think once you do that, not saying life is going to be easy, but it's going to be smoother because you can focus on what's in front of you and not what's to the side, not what's to this side, not behind you, not who's following you and blowing their horns at you, but you can just focus on where you're supposed to be going and the things that God is calling you to do. So many times I think we just have to prioritize what's important, understand like you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So sometimes you have to like take some of the things off your plate, focus on what's important. Yes. That's why I identify what's important to you. Me, my faith, my family, my kids, my marriage, and my personal growth and development. That's what's important to me. So, the seeds I'm going to plant every single day in those areas. I'm not going to try to do everything. I'm not going to try to please everybody because it's going to wear me out for one, and you're not going to get the best of me, or they're not going to get the best of me. So I think you have to prioritize what's important for you, plant seeds in those areas every single day, and just always stay in alignment. Always spend time with you. Always spend time with God, because I think a lot of people can't seem to like feel worthy of themselves because they can't spend time with themselves. Like, have you ever tried to sit and just not watch TV? You just sit in the living room and just listen to yourself think. Like,
remember we talked about that?
I know. I struggled with that for a long time. And it was like, why do you always have to just sit and just watch TV? Or why you have to always sit? Why can't you just sit and listen to you? It's like, cause the thoughts aren't good. Like, what's going on inside aren't good. It may look good on social media, but and then we see this on social media. People, all things happen, and you're like, oh, I never would have thought that. Like, we all deal with these things, and sometimes we just have to sit, deal with ourselves, deal with the things that we're going through, and really be real and transparent about these things. And that don't happen over time. It don't happen overnight. It happens over time. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have a counselor. You have to have a therapist. You have to have a group of accountability. You have to have a safe place for you to go and talk about these things as well. So I think you have to use the resources that you have, or if you don't have the resources, reach out and ask people, and I'm pretty sure they can point you in the way to get these resources so that you can overcome some of these things that you dealt with in your past. I always say, like, what you run from stayed with you the longest. So if you don't deal with things in your past, in your childhood, you're going to continue to struggle and deal with these things. So many times you just have to face and confront these things head on so that you can move forward in a positive and a more healthy way, so that you can start building your future. For me, I understand, like, in order to build a future, in order to build something new, that means you have to tear down something old. And that's what I did in my life. When I decided I wanted to change, I understand there was some walls that had to come down because they were just blocking me, and I couldn't get past these walls. So the only way to get past these walls was to tear them down, go to work on myself, not try to fix my wife, not try to fix anybody, fix myself, tear down these walls and limitations and labels that people have placed on me, and build something new. Build on the foundation that won't waver in faith. That you don't get bothered when people talk about you. That you don't get bothered when people don't like or respect you. It has nothing to do with me. That's what I had to understand. This is everything to do with this person. They're going through things. They haven't dealt with things and issues from their past, so they're going to push it off and they're going to push it on me. And that's not my job to like decipher, like, why don't this person like me? Why don't this person agree with me? Why don't this person, that it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. So me, I don't give you that power over me. And that's because I've learned to tear down these walls and understand, like, I can only control what I can control. And that's going to work on myself, going to work on becoming a better person, husband, father, and all these things, and not trying to do that for somebody else, but just continue to share my testimony, share my story, share the inspiration, the wisdom, the motivation, everything that I learned, continue to put it out, not for validation, not for people to like me, whatever the case may be, for me to plant seeds for myself in the future, but also plant seeds for my kids, for my wife, and for other people as well. So, and also to bring glory to God, because if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be the man I am today, because he put me on that path. And he always had me on that path, but when I decided to be obedient, he just kind of put those borders down, like, oh, you tired of going in the gutter? Okay, I'll put this down now since you want it down. So when I told him, go ahead and put them down because I'm tired of these gutters. This ain't working.
You know what that
and
just
he kept me in
of?
line.
You know what that just reminded me of? What's that? The Bible story of when he was running from God.
In the well?
No, the one where he gets in the fish and he runs.
Jonah.
That just reminds me of Jonah. I think sometimes like God wants us to do these things, and we run from them. And then when we run from them, that's when.
Yep, you end up in a well.
Yeah.
No, you end up in a place you don't want to be.
Yeah, and so, but when you get back in alignment, I feel like when I know that I'm in alignment, it's when I have peace.
You know, I think when I'm in alignment, I have order. Like, I'm not worried or stressed about anything. I think I always kind of have peace because I'm pretty content. I think for me, it's like when I lost my mom at such a young age, like, it gave me a different perspective on life. So for me, it was like peace is just like you just have to be willing to like let go of everything else, and that's what was the unhealthy part of like that was like I didn't let it go. I just compartmentalized it. So it wasn't until I started to get a little older and it's like, okay, there's peace, but then there's peace that surpasses all understanding. And the peace I had was like I just put it up here and smoke some weed, and that's that peace. Like it's a different type of peace. Like that gave you peace for that night or that day or that moment. But when I decided to like, okay, I don't want that peace anymore. I don't want to put it up here and then smoke a little weed and then forget about it for it to come back up later. And I was like, no, I'm gonna deal with it. I'm not gonna use this to mask it or to hide it or to forget about it. Like I'm gonna put it on the table and I'm gonna deal with it. And that's when I got that peace that surpasses all understanding. Like I didn't have to smoke something to forget about it for that night. Only a week later, be dealing with the same issue. Like when I decided, okay, God, I want your peace. And that's when I didn't have to do anything. I didn't mask it, hide it, cover it up. I was able to like get it out of here. Don't compartmentalize it. Put it on the table, deal with it, move past it, and become better because of it. Wow, and when I started to do that, that's when I got the real peace. So for me, it's like we can get these peace that are mask things, make it look good on the outside for everybody else to trick yourself. But at the end of the day, like I want a peace that surpasses all understanding. Like when I go to bed, like I'm going to bed happy, healthy, and not stressing over anything, and not having to be out of my mind or out of mind to do it. So that's the type of peace that I've come to live in because, like,
that's what I want.
Deal with issues.
Because you can literally get to the top of any type of success that you want. I mean, literally, if you want to make money, there's thousands of ways that you can make money. Like you can learn anything. Like you can be anywhere, anything. But then, what do you have when you have that? And so that's where like you can build success. Like people can do anything. You can do anything you possibly want in your life. But what you really want is the fruits of the Spirit.
Yep. Because that's going to be like that joy. It's going to be like you're just blissful. Sounds crazy, but you're just blissful. You just can, like people say like, when Paul said, I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me, people think that means like I can just do anything. It's like, no, he was like, I'm content whether I'm rich or whether I'm broke.
Yes.
Whether I'm living or whether I'm dead. I'm content in all things, so I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So when you quote that scripture, don't think just because you say that you can go out and lift a car. Like, no, that means like whatever situation that you're in, you're good in that situation. So for me, it's like, that's why you say like, I can do all things. If I'm broke, I can be happy and be broke. I mean, I may have to get to work and do some things. I may be hungry a couple of nights, but I can still be happy. I can still find joy in being broke. I can still find the lesson in being broke. And that's for me, that started for me. Once I started to decide my faith walk, I was in a position where like I had no choice but to be humble because I didn't have anything. But for me, it's like, the struggle and all that, like it made me humble, but the blessings kept me humble. Because I remember where I came from. I remember where I started. And I remember where God found me at. And I always stayed in that place. And when he started to bless me, it wasn't, look what I did for myself. Look what everything that I've become. It's like, no, like I know exactly where I was when God found me. And when I was begging for him to like come in and make some real change. Not like change me up to make me look good on the outside. But like come in here and do some real heart change, because I don't want to carry around this spirit of brokenness, the spirit of everything that your aunties and uncles and all these people carried around. Like I want some real change and transformation, and that's when he did that, and that's when I was able to say like I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Not because I can go out and make things happen on my own. It's because like I've been broke and I found peace in being broke. I've had much and I found peace in that as well. So understanding it's not about what you can do for yourself, but what God has done for you in the situations that you found yourself in, and you still had peace in those things. That's when you can do all things through Christ. So if you're going through a hardship, when Paul say like, I can do all things through Christ, you can be happy in that hardship, understanding this won't last forever. Yeah. That's I can do all things. Like, of course you can do it when you got money and everything is going good, but when it's going bad and you're broke and you're down and you just feel like it can't get no worse, can you do all things through Christ who strengthens you? That's what that scripture really means. Not that you can go out and do these spectacular things by yourself, but you can be content in whatever situation that you find yourself in.
Wow, that's so good. That actually just reminded me of, I was listening to a sermon the other day, and he was talking about the thorn in Paul's flesh, and that Paul was actually a really successful person even before and then God blinded him and then made him be passionate for him. And Paul knew that he could go out and do anything, but God gave him a thorn in his flesh so that he could be reminded that. Can you touch more on that? Because
my grace is sufficient. Like that's what God told me. My grace is gonna, but it's almost like just to live with it. Like my grace is sufficient for that. I'm not gonna remove it. Like some of the things that I struggle with, God didn't make me a changed, perfect man. I'm not perfect at all. Like that's that thorn in my flesh, the stuff that I still have to the stuff that I still have to deal with. And it's not that it's a struggle for me. I don't struggle with these things. I just understand, like, I can see it differently. I can approach it differently. Yeah. I understand, like, this is, like, I'm not held hostage or captive to this thing. Like, he's giving me enough grace to overcome this thing. So whenever it shows its face, I can deal with it and move on. Yeah. So for me, I think that's where the thorn is. A lot of times we think it's something physical, but many times it don't have to be something physical. It's some of the things that you just, for me, I always tell myself, you have to, sometimes you have to win a battle more than once, fight a battle more than once to win it. So you can go through something and think that you've overcome it, and then for it to show itself, and then it show up again, and then you start to doubt and have quitting. Like, no, like, just because you dealt with it though in this season didn't mean it was going to show up. It's like he's giving you grace for this season as well. He's giving you grace for this season. That's why he says, my grace is sufficient. My grace will continue to pay for it. My grace will continue to cover it. My grace will continue to show up. But I need you to show up. I need you to deal with it. So I'm not going to remove it, but I'm going to give you the grace for you to overcome it. So for me, I think that's for me when it talks about Paul and that thorn in his flesh. It's like, I'm not going to remove it, but I'm going to give you that grace that you need to get over it, to get past it, to keep moving. And I think it just kept him in a place of humility and a place that he understood there was something that he needed from God. And it wasn't money. It wasn't the riches. He needed that grace. And I think that grace kept him in a like a humble posture where he understood, like, in anything that that's why Paul was always like, he was like, if I'll die for Christ, I live for Christ. He was always like, I love Paul.
Passionate.
He was very passionate, but he was very honest, because for me, it was like when he talked about what a wretched man I am. And I think that's why I love Paul the most, because he can be just the wisest, and he still what a wretched man I am. For me, like, that's vulnerability, that's transparency, that's being real and honest about who you are. What I want to do, I don't want to do it. But what I do, I don't want to do. Like, for me, like, to be that honest with yourself and still go out and live a life for God, for me, it's like, that's what the Christian life is supposed to. Not being perfect, understand, like, yes, he saved me, yes, I've come a long way, but I still got issues. Like, for me, like, put me on the highway behind a bad driver or somebody trying to pass me. Look, what a wretched man I am. Listen. I got the Holy Spirit, but the hood part.
Oh my gosh.
That's Paul saying, what a wretched man I am. You got these issues as well. Don't act perfect because you come to know Christ. No, you're still a wretched person. And sometimes I think you have to be honest about this, so that when you see other people and they sit there, I thought he was a Christian. I am, but don't make me cuss you out.
Yeah.
I'm still a person. I'm still a human that
you're
deal
still
with.
In the flesh.
Yes, and I deal with issues. I deal with stuff that I still have to conquer. And I think that's what people don't understand. They think when you come to know Christ, you have to live this perfect life. You become this whole brand new person that have no struggles and issues. It's just different season where, like, you may have gotten rid of these past habits and traits and things, but as you grow, you're going to outgrow some of these other things that you've come to learn and know. So for me, I understand, like, we're always growing and learning. So I may learn to be this person in this season, but come this season, I can't be the same person anymore.
Yeah, that's so
I have to become something even more than what I was then. And you think, man, I already put in the work to become this. And like, God, like, I didn't want you to settle here. This was just like a piece of the puzzle to get you to here. Yeah. But you have to grow out of this. You have to grow out of these things that you've learned and become and grow into even more. So for me, it's understand, like, the Christian life is a growing life. And you always growing towards God. And when you grow towards God, it is not easy because it gets harder. The path get narrower and people just get, more prideful, more ungrateful, and you have to deal with these people, but you have to love these people. You have to be that light for these people. You have to be real for these people. You have to be transparent for these people, and you have to share your real struggles for these people, because if you get so attached and you're up here following God and you're trying to reach these people down here, but you no longer have the struggles and you don't no longer remember what you went through, you're going to be so attached from these people that you can't reach them. So that's why you always want to be transparent and vulnerable, because that's everything in here. They can relate to that.
That's the
gap. And they feel like, okay, now you give me, you made a bridge that I feel like I can cross. and not a ladder that I can't climb. So you always want to be relatable and just share, be real and vulnerable about what you're going through, so that you can relate to people, and so that people can feel like, okay, it's possible for me. It's possible for me to get where you are, because I know exactly where you came from, and I know what you did to get where you are. You didn't just read the Bible, but you got these passages. You develop quiet times. You start just doing stuff on your own, not just in church. You start going to marriage groups. People see our marriages like, y'all just amazing couple. Like, okay, join us Wednesday night. We go to marriage group. We do this. We do that. No. Like,
yeah, we used to. We tried for something once a year.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it just didn't happen by accident. We put in the work for it to be like this, and we continue to put in the work. So I think sometimes you just have to remember, like, you have to do the work no matter what you do in life. You have to put in the work. You can be successful at whatever you decide to be successful at. You have to work and become successful at that thing. So,
and you can have anything great in your life, but you have to choose that great of what choice. So like we just choose. Like the shirt says choose happy, but I would think like if you want to be married, you have to choose to be married. Yeah. You know, you have to choose it. You have to choose. You get to choose everything that you want in your life, but in order to get those choices, become successful in those choices, you have to give up something. Yeah. So there's weight on everything that you do, and it's just, what do you want at the end of the day? And what does God want for you?
I know. She said, I get excited. I just want to do everything. And I'm just
know.
I hear everything. I'm like, all right, let's count the cost.
I know.
What do we have to sacrifice? What do we have to give up? What do we have to do?
Because I'm a worker bee. I like to work.
And there's nothing wrong with that. No. But you have to, like, for me, it's like, okay, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. But you have to decide. You literally have to decide, am I willing to pay the price for this thing?
Yes.
This vision, this dream, whatever. Count the cost. It tells you in the Bible, count the cost. Am I willing to pay the price? And if you are, go to work and make that thing happen with God. And if you're not, leave it where it is. Yeah. Because you have to understand, like,
I try to pick up everything. You remember that one story of that man? This is a little bit longer than we thought, but we'll probably go, we could even go for 1 hour and that'll be it. But I remember that one story about a man. This is how I am, because this is so me, you guys. I'm going up the mountain, right? And I got a bag. And I'm adding things to my bag. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this.
You gotta start, like, God gave you the one thing. You take up the mountain.
No. Well, let me keep going. Okay. And so I'm grabbing all these things and I'm putting them all in my basket because I know that I could be good at anything, because I've literally been successful in all areas of my life. I know that I could do anything with just hard work, determination. Like, I know the key to success because I've been disciplined consistently. I know that because I built business. Like, I know how to be successful, so I can be successful at everything. And so I'm trying to get up the mountain, and I'm trying to be great at everything, and it's so heavy, and it's so hard, and now what? I'm stressed out.
Stressed, depressed.
I'm anxious.
Mad at God for telling you to take this up the mountain.
But tell me what happened. I picked up I'm sorry, babe. I picked up sorry, I'm so excited. I picked up everything, but God only what?
I told you to start at the beginning so you can do it.
Oh, well, look. See, I just get so excited. I just want to run with it. Good. Yeah, but at the end, it's so heavy, and there's this huge bag. And I think as mothers, it is a motherly trait, though. We try to do everything because we want to be a great mom. We want to be successful in our careers. We want to do all of these things, but realizing that God didn't call me to everything in all seasons. So you need to know, what did God call you to in this season? And pick that up. Because when you only pick up what my burden is, my yoke is easy, but my burden is light. Right? Or is that the right verse? See, like, I'm working on my memory too. But if I just do what God has called me to do and work hard at that and go for that, it's like, that's when it's easy, you know? Yeah. But, I mean, sometimes I feel like it is kind of hard to know what God wants for you. I mean, that's why I need to, like, get more in His Word and ask Him, God, what do you want me? That was one of my biggest prayers. I feel like when I was climbing, like, a ladder to success, or, you know, God, what do you want for me? God, what do you want me to do today? And it was just changing those simple prayers. God, if this is what you want for me, That's the best prayer that I ever prayed. God, if this is what you want from me, just show me what you want me to do. Because I'm a doer.
Yeah.
And in that just prayer, God. And then I feel like when I was working with God, that's when things started to happen.
Yeah. And again, it's not easy.
Yeah, no.
It's just less stressful.
Yeah.
Like, you just have more peace in what you're doing. You just have more joy in what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not easy by far because you still, like you said, like God gave you this one rock to take up the mountain, and along the way you start picking up, everybody else start, can you carry this? You going there, so carry this rock for me. Yeah. Carry this rock for me. Take this for me. And you start picking up all these things, and then you looking back like, God, why you tell me to go to this mountain? He's like, I told you to carry one rock up the mountain. I didn't tell you to take everybody else's. So, like, for us, it's like sometimes, like, he's going to give you that rock, but you still got to go up the mountain.
Yeah.
You still got to have enough faith, and you still have to be real enough to tell other people, no. God didn't tell me to take your rock up the mountain. He told me to take this rock up the mountain. You have to tell people no along the way. You have to stay on that path. You have to understand, like, you can't see these people over here partying and want to go over here and party with these people.
Yes.
He didn't call you to go party with these people. He told you to take this rock up the mountain. So it's going to be hard because you have to make decisions that other people aren't going to like. You have to make decisions that you don't get to do what other people are doing in this season of your life. It's going to be hard because, like, people are going to see you and talk about you. Look, they think they're better than us. They think they can do something that we can't do. Like, they're going to talk about you, and it's going to be hard because you're human. You have emotions, you have feelings, and you see and you hear these things. But at the end of the day, as you stay on this journey, as you just continue to, like, literally take this rock up the mountain, what you're going to see is God is going to provide things along the way. He's going to give you the wisdom. He's probably have somebody else to meet you here to give you this water break. If you ever climb a mountain, what you know on these mountains, they have summits for you to rest. He's already provided that summit for you. So you don't have to look at these people and think you have to go here to rest. Like, he has something for you already up here. Yes. So you have to make that decision and tell these people, no, not today. I need to keep going to get to here. So I think what it is, you have to stay focused on what it is and literally what God is calling you to do in that season and stay focused on doing that thing. For us, seasons are different. We have 5 kids now. Every season has been different. And we understand right now the season is different. That's not mean we have to like dislike people or unfriend people. We just have to focus on what God wants us to do in this season and stay focused on that. Don't stress on what people have to say, what people want us to do, what people expect of us. That's not our job. Our job is to do what God is calling us to do in this season. Part of that is us having conversation, us praying, us like literally getting on the same page, understanding the goal and the vision that we're supposed to be doing and literally focus on that. Is it easy? No, you still have to raise these kids. We still have to do all the things. But at the same time, we have peace in this because we know God is with us, for one, because we still trying to do things our way, and he continue to put us back in alignment. We still trying to do things our way, and he continue to put us back in alignment. So for us, it's not the bumper that hurts. I think what hurts, and what I get more joy is like knowing that he's with us, is he's putting us back in alignment. If he wasn't with you, you'd be going in the gutter. You would hit this bumper and just keep going side to side, but because he's putting you back in alignment and putting you back where you're supposed to be, it's like that's enough to let you know, like he's with you, he's guiding you every step, and he's gonna lead you to where you need to go. So it won't be easy. It's gonna come with hard decisions, and it's gonna be hard at times. But you just have to know, like he knows what to do to get you to where you're supposed to be next, and that's all you can do is just do the next right thing, make the next right decision, and just make the next right choice. And as you do that, it's gonna take you and leave you and keep you on the path that where he wants you to go and where you're going to have the most peace at. And many times I think we get in stressful situations because we're not where we're supposed to be at. And I think sometimes when it gets stressful,
or we're carrying too much.
Yep, that's another one.
Because I like to grab everything. And that's just a reminder. That's how I get tempted though. So like that's how the stress comes, is because I'm like, I can do all this stuff and I can remember. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I really can't do all this stuff. So that also means saying no to things that maybe I want to do. It's honestly, I feel like life is just, it's learning to handle daily life. I think a lot more people just need real life advice. Like, I always ask, I go, I need a guide to life. I literally always ask them, like, and then God's like, you want to read Proverbs? I'm like, I'm in, Lord. If you want to show me the way, just show me what to do.
All you can do is what you can do right now in this day. Like, don't focus on tomorrow. Like, you have enough strength for today. Like, take care of today.
My grace is sufficient for today. And I love that verse. His mercies are new every morning.
Every morning.
And so that's like my favorite times in the morning. I'm like, God, thank you for your mercy and your grace for today. Because he gave the manna enough for them to get through. Like he gave manna, and that was enough for today. He can't give you grace for tomorrow because you're not in tomorrow. So live in today and ask God to give you grace and mercy for today.
And use up that grace and that mercy. Use it up.
What?
Don't be trying to save it for tomorrow.
Yes, because otherwise, if you save it, it gets mold.
Yeah.
And you're so every day His grace, and I got to be reminded of that. And that's why I think we even put in our bathroom one time we had the sign. It was like His grace is mercies. Yeah, so that I could be reminded every time, because a lot of times I needed to remind myself. It's about that could be the next topic on. I don't know what the next topic is going to be because I'd like to be led by God, because sometimes He leads you. I think God leads you all the time, and it's just, are you listening and are you in tune with Him? And that's always my goal is I can listen. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to step out on faith. And He can't use everyone like that because not everybody's willing to listen. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why He gives us all different gifts. So that this is going to touch the right person at the right time, and somebody's going to click on this right when they need it. And so that's what I've been loving. I do love social media. Sometimes I do check my messages. Sometimes I don't, because it stresses me out, and I can't do everything at all the time. And so, but what I've learned in the last, week or two, since we've really just been like, God, what do you want us to do? And we've just been letting Him lead us, is that people are clicking on this and our talks at the time that they need it most, when they just need a little bit of encouragement for that day. And so I'm like, if we could just encourage somebody right when they need it, that's what we can do, and you just gotta go encourage somebody in your life today. It's like that ripple effect. If you can encourage somebody right when they need it, they might have needed it right when they were going down this deep depression spiral. I mean, it's just like everyone needs everyone, and somebody needs your message. And so it's just, got any last closing statements on that? We got 1 minute left.
Life is hard. Don't be the person to put somebody over the edge. Be that person that gives them that rope and pull them back from jumping or falling over the edge. So that's what we try to be. Be the people that literally give somebody the rope and keep them from falling over the edge. Pull them closer and get them further away from the edge as possible. And just let them know, like, life is hard, but you're not alone. And there's other ways to do life. There's other things for you to do, other people for you to reach. And part of doing that is not sitting here wondering every day, is this going to be the day that I fall over the edge? But just continue to walk and distance yourself from the edge. That means you have to deal with stuff that you've been through in your past, people have done to you, labels and limitations people have placed on you. You have to tear those things down by being intentional, by confronting things that's been hurting you, by confronting things that you don't want to deal with. Put it on the table and deal with it. That's the only way to move past it. I always say, like, what you run from stays with you the longest. So if you keep running from it, just understand it's not going anywhere. It's going to continue to follow you and continue to catch up with you. So deal with these things, put it on the table, and move past it in a healthy environment. Don't go deal with it with Aunt Susie. You know she's going to talk about you to your face and to her friends. So, like, find a healthy environment, a healthy group, and just look up the resources for you to actually start and just heal in a healthy environment so that you can move forward and really find and get the help that you need so that you can go back and be a blessing to others, not from what you heard, but from your testimony and how you heard somebody speak into your life and you used that and applied it in your life, and now you mix those two together, and now you can go back and make an impact through your testimony and your story because you've been through something, you got the wisdom, and now you got the understanding to go and share it and help somebody else get those things as well. So
love that. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys have an awesome day, and stay tuned for our next video.